Hello, bookies. I don't know. Is that awkward? I don't know. I want to come up with a cute name for you guys because I just say, hey guys, every video. But everyone else, all the other booktubers say like, hey reader pops, like Haley fam. They have like cutesy names. Anyway, welcome back after that unnecessary intro, but I hope you guys are doing well. And I hope you're excited for today's video because we are doing my Throne of Glass hot takes. And these hot takes are only up until Heir of Fire because I haven't read the second half of the series yet, which I will be doing and vlogging soon, which I'm very excited about. Also, I do have a reading vlog up of me reading the first half of the series, which it's not as vloggy as I would have liked, which the second one will be more vloggy, but you'll know what I mean if you watch it. But anyway, grab your drink, grab your beverage of choice. I am drinking a peppermint tea, and let's dive into these hot takes about the Throne of Glass series. Okay, so the whole reason that I wanted to film this video is because when I went into this series, I had all these weird ideas in my head of what it was going to be like based on TikTok videos, reels, other booktubers talking about these books. And I've just found that a lot of the thoughts that I had about the series in my head didn't end up being very accurate. And so I want to give you guys my experience, my hot takes, things that I feel like aren't said enough about this series, or maybe they are and I just haven't heard them. So let me remain in the dark, okay? Let me continue to believe that these are my hot takes and my hot takes alone, okay? Unless you agree, leave a comment below. But anyway, so starting off strong with the very first book in the series. My hot takes about the very first book in the series is that it actually is not hard to get through. It's very fast paced, it's good. Like, I actually really enjoyed this. Everyone else said it was very slow, like you will suffer. You will have to suffer to get to the other book. So I literally thought, okay, I'm going to despise this book. It's gonna take all my willpower to get through it, and who knows if we will make it to the other books in the series. And while I do see that some aspects of this book are definitely cringy, I talked about this in my reading vlog, and our main character is a little bit unlikable, a little bit immature. She's very repetitive. She's always telling us how she could take anyone out at any time. But then again, she is an assassin, so like I see where that cockiness comes from because she's like the best assassin in all the land, and she's confident. People will talk about, well, I actually saw like one or two videos talking about how the main character is annoying because she's so full of herself. She is, for sure, and she's a little bit immature. But then it got me thinking, a lot of the ways like she's full of herself is just her being confident. And then it got me thinking, why do I feel annoyed when I see a woman being confident? We shouldn't be annoyed. She should be allowed to think that she's beautiful, to think that she's strong, to know that she's strong, to know that she's beautiful, to say that, to express that, to act in that way. I mean, obviously without being rude to other people or hurting other people, which she does sometimes, but you know, she's learning her way. Her being an unlikable character is gonna make for great character development in future books. But anyway, my hot take is basically that this book is actually pretty good, given the fact that Sarah J. Maas wrote this when she was 16 years old. And you know, as someone who doesn't read a lot of fantasy, maybe in comparison to other fantasy books, this one is garbage. I don't know because I don't read a ton yet. I actually have so many on my TBR now that I want to get to because I actually really do like fantasy, or I think I do now. But yeah, my hot take is that yes, this book isn't the best thing ever. I only rated it 3 stars, but I don't think it's as excruciating as everyone makes it seem when you're thinking about getting into the Throne of Glass series. Moving on to the next one I read. We're going in the order that I read them in, okay? So next up, I read Crown of Midnight, and my hot take with this one is that it is so good. It's 4 stars for me. Everyone says this one is also very slow and like you just have to get through it, but I feel like people are lying. They're lying. Let's not lie and pretend that we didn't like this, that we didn't have a fun time reading this, that we didn't enjoy ourselves while we read this, okay? We don't need to lie about it. It might be a little bit trashy. It might be a little bit, you know, like, ooh, I read that, but it's so good. There's crack in this. She put the crack in this. It's so good. I feel like this is where I really started to like the characters and where I really felt like, okay, this series is gonna be something I'm gonna adore. Maybe not right this second, but I'm really enjoying it. Definitely 4 stars for me. So then next I read Assassin's Blade, and I listened to it on audiobook. And this is, I think, my biggest hot take so far with the series is that, so people say there are 2 ways to read it, the series. There's like the purest order, I think, which is where you read Assassin's Blade first because it's the prequel to everything that happens in Throne of Glass and so on, with Selena, our main character. And then people say the romantic reading order, which is the order you read it in if you want the most emotional response to the series, is to read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and then either Assassin's Blade and then Heir of Fire, or Heir of Fire and then Assassin's Blade to give you the most emotional impact. And I chose to read it that way. So I read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and then Assassin's Blade, and then Heir of Fire, because I thought I was getting the most emotional impact by reading it in the romantic order. I think that's false. I think if you want the most emotional impact, I think you should read Assassin's Blade first, because by the time I got to Assassin's Blade, I just wanted to know what was going on with the plot lines we were already in, the current timeline. You basically have enough information already to kind of know what happened in Assassin's Blade. If you have any level of empathy, you can see why Selena is the way she is without having to go back and see exactly what happened. And it felt repetitive in the sense that, yeah, we already knew what was coming down the pipeline in Assassin's Blade, because I've already read Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, where they touch on that stuff quite a lot. I mean, you definitely do get a lot more information and get to know Selena very well as a character in Assassin's Blade, but you don't get as attached to the other characters in that book, if you know what I'm talking about, because you know what's going to happen. Whereas if I had read that first, I probably would have gotten very attached to the characters and been very emotionally devastated. Understood Selena way more going into Throne of Glass, been attached to her more so already, and just had like more of an emotional response to things that happened to her going forward. I hope that makes sense, but personally, I feel like that's the most romantic way to read it. But again, I don't think it's a big deal either way, but I do kind of wish that I read it first, and I'm curious how I would have felt about it if I read it first, because I did rate it 2 stars because of how repetitive it is. Not just in the sense of I already knew what was coming, but in the sense of in the book itself, a scene will happen, then next scene, she's reflecting on this scene, restating what happened in it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I know. I was there, I saw that, like, let's move along. And it's not like she's reflecting on it in a way that gives us any more information or like changes her perspective about it. It just felt very much like she was just repeating what was going on. And then last but not least, Heir of Fire. Okay, everyone says you have to, struggle through the first 2 to 3 books and it's boring, which again, hot takes, it's actually not boring. What are people talking about? It's not that hard to get through. Maybe for some people it's really hard, but like, it's honestly not that bad. I've read worse books. Anyway, but then everyone says, just get to Heir of Fire. It takes off, it is so amazing. And so I'm thinking, okay, Heir of Fire, that's where it's gonna be kind of similar to Akamath, where I'm just gonna fall in love with the series and there's no going back from there. No turning back. Even though I already do really like the series, I am enjoying it. But I'm thinking this is gonna send me over the edge. I'm gonna be cracked out for days on this book. I get into it, there's a lot of POVs, which people said is a little bit confusing. I didn't think it was confusing, I actually liked the POVs. So hot take, I like multiple point of views. My other hot take is that this book is not where the series takes off, by any means. Crown of Midnight, series starts to take off. Then you go to Heir of Fire. You think there's no turning back now. At first, you're 50 pages in, you're like, so good. Can't wait for this to take. Then you're 238 pages in and you're starting to wonder. Getting a lot of information, but no, nothing's happening. Starting to question things, but you keep going. Do you have faith? You're halfway through the book and you're like, where is the crack? Where is the crack that I was promised? I'm an addict and I need my fix, okay? And it's still boring. But then you reach page like 400 and the crack starts cracking. She condensed all the crack into the last bits of the book. Okay, the last 200 to 150 pages. So good. And for that, I want to rate this book in like 2 parts. I rated it 3.75. The back half, definitely closer to 4. That's where things will really start picking up and I got very excited. And now I think Queen of Shadows will be where it really just is all uphill from there. But like this book, I don't think is where it takes off. I think Crown of Midnight is actually where it really starts to take off. We kind of hit a lull in the first half of this book where we're getting a lot of information and a lot of points of view, but there's not a lot of action. It's not super fast paced. I still enjoyed it. There were just some bits where I was like wishing there was like a little bit more action to keep the flow going. The pacing was a little bit slower, but ultimately I don't know why people just think this book is just the end all be all. That's my hot take. And I can't wait to see what I think of Queen of Shadows and the tandem read and then Kingdom of Ash, because I feel like that's gonna send me. But yeah, those are my hot takes for the Throne of Glass series so far. I'm very excited to read the last half of the series and let you guys know my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I would love to hear what you guys think of this. Obviously, these are all just my opinions, and if you loved these books, if you hated them, it doesn't matter. We're just here to chat about books and share our thoughts and feelings. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys in my Throne of Glass reading vlog, and my April wrap-up video, or any of the other videos I have posted recently. And until then, I will see you when I see you.